All right, everyone. So let's talk about some of the new events in Raid Shadow Legends and how are they compared to some of the old events we've had in the past. Are they better? Are they worse? Or are they about the same? And let's actually start off with the big one that we've got going on right now, the flashy orange in the upper left. And we do indeed have another summoning event that just recently started. Now, if you're wondering, didn't they just actually finish a summoning event? They did. A few days ago, they finished a ×2 rates event for Ancient Shards. That's the good one. But now they've got one of these ×10 events going on, which don't actually increase your chances of pulling epics or legendaries. All they do is increase your chances of getting certain champions in the champion pool relative to all the other champions. So your odds of pulling epics and legendaries remain the same. Very important. And as a generalization here, I'll always say, especially to the vast majority of people watching, unless you're a whale or you're really specifically looking for some of these certain champions that are featured in the target champion boosts and you're really willing to pay a price for that, you want to save the vast majority of your shards for the ×2 events, because those ones are actually going to increase your chances of epics and legendaries being pulled. This event comes at a price. They run them pretty frequently. It seems like they have been as of lately. Definitely feels like there's a lot of these in comparison to the ×2 events. And, if you want to pull a couple shards to test your luck, go for it. But, it's not something I would open the vast majority of your shards on. Now, how is this event in comparison to all the other summoning events out there? Well, if you take out the ×2 events, because I pretty much always say those ones are better than ×10 events, I don't think there's actually ever been a ×10 event that I've said is worth pulling on more than the ×2 events. The only exception that I could think of is if they actually brought Madame Cerise back and kind of did like a focus 10 times event where she was in the pool. Maybe I would say that, but I always say ×2 is better than ×10, so we've kind of got to take that out of the equation now. And how is this ×10 in comparison to all the other ones that they've run? I'd say it's about average, to be honest. There's some good champions in here. There's some champions in here that I honestly probably don't want to see on the rate up list. But, to go over the good ones, let's see here. Just starting right off the bat on the very left, we've got Septimus, and Septimus is indeed a good champion. The thing about him that makes him really good is his second ability here. He's got a skill based off of enemy max HP. So when you're facing enemies that have a lot of health, this ability is quite simply going to do more damage, even if his gear isn't insanely good, because the ability is based off of the HP that enemies have. So very solid ability. He's also got some other really good stuff on his skill kit as well. Ally attack in all battles here. Increases the duration of debuffs, increases the damage of each attack if they have HP. So, you can get a lot of damage off of this guy right here. Next up is Fushan. Fushan is pretty good as well. He's got his speed aura in all battles, which is fantastic. It's a pretty difficult aura and a very valuable aura to find on champions. His skill kit, you've got this extra hit on it. He is attack based as well, which is important because he's going to be squishy, so you probably are going to need to build a bit more survivability on him compared to maybe some other champions because of that. His second ability here is an AoE, and it does actually have that chance of placing a stun, which is pretty cool to have on an AoE. 35% chance, I think 40% with Masteries can get that down to a 3-turn cooldown. And then you've got this ability right here, attacks 4 times at random, and places that strong decreased defense, 4-turn cooldown. Pretty good ability, especially, in situations where you're facing multiple enemies and even single target, because either way, you're going to get several hits in there. So, he's pretty decent. I wouldn't say he's like top 5 or anything like that, but he's definitely a solid legendary. His biggest weakness is probably the fact that he's attack-based. Then you've got Ithos here, who's also attack-based. Let's see, he's got crit rate aura by 33%, which is pretty darn big right here. He's got an extra turn and decreased enemy max HP on his auto there. An AoE that attacks 3 times, which is pretty crazy. A little bit surprised, though, to see that he's got the weak version of weak in here. It's only the 15% and not the 25%. Kind of weird considering he's a legendary, but, it's still a good skill either way. And he's got another AoE here, which is always critical, so it puts you in a weird situation where you have to think to yourself, am I going to build crit on this guy if he's already got an ability that always crits anyway? Because if I don't, then I'm not going to be getting crits on his other abilities. So, he's decent, not top of the line or anything like that, but you can see some solid damage numbers from this guy. So that's the legendaries there. And then we've got the epics here. Now, Royal Guard is a phenomenal epic. Absolutely phenomenal. This guy actually, out of all the champions on this list, I think Royal Guard's probably the one that you should, if you are going to pull, or if you're like wondering out of all 6 of these champions, this guy's probably the best one. And he's got another enemy max HP ability right here, and it's an AoE as well, which is awesome. So the more the more health the enemies have, the more this is gonna actually hit for. He's also got the strong version of decreased defense, and he's got decreased speed right there as well. So increases ally attack in dungeons by 35%. So solid champion, great skill kit. This is one of the few epics where I'd say, like, if you pull a duplicate of this guy, don't just immediately use him as a book. He might actually be a champion you might want to build more than one copy of. You've got Allure here. Allure is a solid champion. You know, I wouldn't say she's top of the line. I would say she's bottom of the list. She's just a solid champion. AoE here with the weak decreased defense, sleep, if they've got decreased defense there. Attacks 3 times at random is kind of nice for the skill 1. Decreased turn meter, which is always nice. And then you've got ignores defense, so you're going to have a skill that actually hits pretty hard there. So, and you've got Seer. Seer's really known to kind of be like a, I don't know if gimmick champion is the right word, but she's got this really cool ability here that is also based off of enemy max HP. So notice there's 3 out of these champions here that have an enemy based off of max HP ability. But she actually removes buffs from allies and enemies, and then attacks and does damage based off of the number of buffs removed. So, you know, you've got to kind of build around this skill right here. This is the thing that really makes her super unique. She's got another solid buff ability here, crit rate and weaken, which is kind of nice. But, you know, if you build her properly, you can definitely see some crazy, you know, crazy numbers from that skill right there. And, yeah, so, you know, I'd say it's a pretty average one. Nothing insane. No, like, it's not like every champion is godly. It's not like all the champions are trash tier. If you want to pull a couple shards, go for it. But that's kind of my opinion about this one here. Nothing really to say besides that. So that's the summoning event, but we've got some other events going on as well. We've got the tournaments, of course. I noticed that they have some new tournament art here, and I was kind of excited because I was like, man, they've got new tournament art. Does that mean that the tournament rewards are actually different? It turns out that they're pretty much the same. Now, I wanted to actually bring something up about this Arena Onslaught tournament because, you know, the thing that I'm going to bring up isn't even the rewards here, which are pretty underwhelming to say the least. But keep in mind that ever since we got this so-called Arena Onslaught tournament, which had, you know, great, amazing new rewards, basically a quote from Plarium when they released this Arena Onslaught tournament, I have not noticed the regular Arena events come back to the game since then. And the regular Arena events actually had much, much better rewards. Like, way better. You could actually get some decent stuff from those Arena events. So it seems like, as of right now, you know, Plarium, feel free to prove me wrong on this one by releasing an actual Arena event and not just the Arena Onslaught tournament, or at least make the rewards, like, way better than they are right now. But it seems like this Arena Onslaught tournament has actually replaced the regular Arena events that we've actually had. So, pretty weird. Again, we're in this dynamic of, like, I would rather get 4th place than 1st, 2nd, or 3rd, especially considering that the Relentless artifacts are really not something that people are chasing as much ever since the nerfs. The fact that they don't really work very well, and the champions that they used to work very well on. So weird actual dynamic for rewards there. Very underwhelming for the Arena events. We've got a Dragon tournament going on as well. 4-star chicken. I think, you know, this seems like the Dragon rewards, you know, a lot of the dungeon tournaments are incredibly hit and miss. Like, this one here is worse than the average rewards, I would say. Like, there's usually at least a 5-star chicken or an epic skill book. Rarely will these tournaments have legendary books. They do occasionally, but, you know, a 4-star chicken and then a couple of gems, brews, a rare book, and silver is below what they generally have for rewards here. So I would like to have seen this be a 5-star chicken, or keep it as a 4-star chicken, but maybe replace the brews with an epic skill book. Something like that. Same dynamic there, where 3rd place seems like it's kind of the best rewards. That's what I would aim for if I was actually competing in this tournament right here. And Fire Knight's already ended. Let's see. Here's an epic book here. So this one is, you know, I'd say probably like about the average, maybe even slightly below, because there's no chickens in here, but at least you've got the epic skill book, which is kind of nice. Kind of wish the Dragon tournament had that. Like, if you had to decide between a 4-star chicken or an epic skill book, I'm pretty sure most people would rather pick the skill book, just because of how limited skill books are in this game, which is obviously a whole separate issue on its own. So that's everything for the tournaments, but now let's get into the events here really quickly, because we've got a few of them. got an artifact enhancement coming up. Seems like it's going to be a pretty typical one. No legendary book for this one, so it could still be a 6,000 point one, or I think it's 6,500 point. It seems like they alternate between like the 5 to 6,000 point artifact enhancements, and then occasionally they'll run like the 3,500 point artifact enhancements, so it might be that one. But let's take a look at the actual events we could see here, because we do have a champion training that actually has a sacred shard, and this is rare. I will say this, for 19,000 points, which is a lot of points, it's still pretty rare to see a sacred shard. So this is actually surprisingly, and I'm not happy to say this isn't like a good thing, but it is actually above average for the rewards for our champion training events. Generally speaking, we would have something very similar to this right here, but it wouldn't have the sacred shard. It might have like 2 more ancient shards. I know they've given 3 of these instead of 1, but it would have like maybe another epic skill book, or maybe some more gems here, like 75 gems, and it would just be the legendary skill book. So having the sacred shard in here, it's honestly, like I said, it's not like I'm happy to say this, but it's above average compared to the champion training events that we normally have. So, you know, if you've got the resources, I would say this is not a terrible one to go for. 22,500 points is a lot. If you get the sacred shard, you probably want to get the extra, you know, 3,000 or so points to get the legendary skill tome afterwards. But, you know, this could also be bait as well. We might see right after this champion training ends, there might be something else, you know, bigger and better in the game. But that's just kind of the way that it is, and the risk that you have to take when it comes to working on events like this. But slightly above average. We've got a Dungeon Divers here, 7,500 points. This does have a legendary skill tome, so, you know, again, it's not like I'm super happy to say this, because 7,500 points for a Dungeon Divers is a lot, but the other good news is that these two events, the Champion Training and the Dungeon Divers, do have overlap, so you can actually just farm the campaign, and even the artifacts that you get by farming the campaign are still going to end up giving you points for the Dungeon Divers. So that's good news, and the fact that they both have decent rewards is, you know, this is definitely an above average set of, you know, champion dungeon related events. And you've also got the, I guess, tournaments that coincide with it as well. So while the rewards for the Dragon Tournament might not be super great, you've got some other stuff kind of running alongside it. So, you know, this is definitely so far like an above average, slightly above average compared to a lot of the series of events that they normally run, but don't take this too far. Like, it's not, I wouldn't say that they're moving in the best direction, because we could easily see they've done this before. They have periods where they have better rewards, they have periods where they have worse rewards. You know, who knows what next week is actually going to end up bringing. It could easily go back to another huge champion training or Dungeon Divers without legendary books and without the actual good rewards. But not a terrible one at all with the legendary skill tome. And to end it off here, we've got the Summon Rush, which is a huge one, 7,000 points. That's 350 Ancient Shards they would have to summon outside of a ×2 event. This is a whale event. The ×10 one and the Summon Rush that coincides along with it. You know, unless you've got a lot of money, you know, a lot of shards, I would definitely not come anywhere even close to spending 350 Ancient Shards on the event that we have right now. If you want to throw in a couple of Sacred Shards, I actually still wouldn't even pull Sacred Shards on this. This is whale talk right now. Like, just do a couple of Ancient Shards if you want to test your luck. That's it. Don't let this event really kind of consume you, even though it does have a lot of you know, skill tomes here. It takes a lot of shards to get to this point, and keep in mind that 4 legendary books is still not enough books to even fully skill book virtually all legendary champions in the game. There might be like 1 or 2 that you can book with that, but most of them, 4 books won't even come close. So you know, you've really got to make a huge sacrifice here to get a lot of these rewards. So this is definitely a whale Summon Rush for sure. But overall, though, I'd still say, you know, it's a little bit above average compared to what we are used to, especially as of lately. But don't get too used to it, because next week, the week after that, things could definitely change. So wanted to kind of get into the breakdown of the events that we've got going on. Feel free to let me know what you guys think. What's your summary of, you know, the current series of events? And that's going to be it for the video. So if you guys enjoyed and you want more videos like this in the future, consider subscribing to the channel. Feel free to leave a quick like as well. It means more than you can imagine. So thank you so much to all of you who decide to do that. And more Raid Shadow Legends videos, guides, tutorials, all that fun stuff should be popping up on the screen right about now, or in the suggested videos to your right or below. Feel free to check them out. But if not, until next time, take care, everyone. This is Salt of the Salty Guild, signing out.